The exploit worked. That was the problem. A security analyst was reading the captured code of a brand new cyberweapon, a working tool built to slip past two-factor authentication, and the code was full of polite little comments, plain English notes explaining what each part of the weapon did, like a textbook teaching a student. And near the top of it sat a severity score, an official rating of how dangerous this flaw was supposed to be. The analyst checked that number against the records. It did not exist. The artificial intelligence that had helped build the weapon had simply made it up. A real functioning weapon shipped with invented homework. And that single hallucinated number is very nearly the only reason you are not reading about the attack it was meant for. Warning: what you are about to hear is based on two threat intelligence reports from the Google Threat Intelligence Group, Google's own security arm, published in early November of 2025 and in May of 2026. It is corroborated by HelpNet Security, the Hacker News, Computer Weekly, and by the published pushback of the researcher who once helped stop the WannaCry outbreak. This is not science fiction. We do not speculate. Every word that follows comes from a company documenting the abuse of its own machine. If you are anxious, this is your moment to look away. To understand why a made-up number should frighten you, you first have to understand the one idea that has kept computers alive for the last 30 years. Defending a computer runs on a single promise: find the weapon once, write down its fingerprint, the exact pattern that makes it what it is, then block every copy of that fingerprint everywhere forever. That's what your antivirus really is, a library of fingerprints of things that have already hurt someone. The whole system rests on one quiet assumption: that the weapon you caught yesterday looks the same tomorrow. Now meet the program built to break that on purpose. In early November of 2025, the Google Threat Intelligence Group published a report describing malware it named PROMPTFLUX, an unremarkable little script in an old language called VB script. But buried inside was a component the analysts had never seen, and they gave it a name out of a children's cartoon: the thinking robot. In Google's own words, it was designed to periodically query Gemini, Google's own artificial intelligence, to obtain new code for evading antivirus software. A weapon whose only standing instruction is to phone an artificial intelligence and ask for a fresh disguise. And one variant took that further. Google found written inside the malware a prompt aimed not at a person but at the machine. It directed Gemini to act as an expert obfuscator, a specialist in making code unrecognizable, and then, in Google's exact wording, to rewrite the malware's entire source code on an hourly basis to evade detection. Every hour, a new body. The fingerprint you wrote at noon describes a thing that no longer exists by one. So picture the old defense for what it really is: a guard at a door holding a stack of mugshots, turning away anyone whose face matches the photos. For 30 years, that guard has won because criminals have faces, and faces stay the same. Now picture a single intruder who slips into a side room every hour and walks out wearing a face no mugshot could ever match, because it did not exist until 60 minutes ago, and it will be gone in 60 more. The guard's not beaten, the guard is made irrelevant. That is the design. And here's where this channel earns your trust, because the design is only half the story, and the honest half should keep you awake. PROMPTFLUX did not get loose, it was caught. And not everyone who studies these threats is convinced it deserves the fear. When the report came out, the researcher widely credited with helping halt the WannaCry attack, a man named Marcus Hutchins, looked at the same code and was unimpressed. He accused companies of overblowing the significance of what he flatly called AI slop malware. The buried prompt, he said, was working under the assumption that Gemini just instinctively knows how to evade antiviruses, and in his exact words, in parentheses, it doesn't. And then the detail that deflates the whole nightmare: the self-modifying function, the one meant to rewrite the weapon every hour, was commented out, switched off. It was not even running. Google itself says much the same in colder language. PROMPTFLUX, by its own assessment, is in a development or testing phase, as opposed to being used in the wild, and currently does not have the ability to compromise a victim network or device. They labeled it with a single word: experimental. So the skeptics are right. Today, this thing cannot hurt you. A prototype, sloppy, switched off. And if that were the end of it, there would be no video. But return that to another report from May of 2026 and the comfort drains away. because in that one, Google was no longer describing a prototype in a lab, it was describing a weapon that worked. Google's analysts watched prominent cybercrime actors partnering to plan a mass exploitation operation, and in the bones of that plan, they found a 0-day, a brand new vulnerability nobody had ever patched written into a Python script that let an attacker walk straight past two-factor authentication on a popular open-source administration tool, the kind of lock countless systems rely on, picked open by code that should not have existed yet. And the code, like a confession, told them where it came from. Google wrote that, although it did not believe Gemini specifically was used here based on the structure and content of the exploit it held high confidence, the actor had leveraged an artificial intelligence model to support the discovery and weaponization of this vulnerability. For the first time, in Google's words, it had identified a threat actor using a 0-day exploit it believed was developed with the help of artificial intelligence. And this crew was never pinned to any country, any flag, any state. Google called them simply criminals. No army built this, people did, with a machine for a partner. But hold on to the part that flips it back. They caught it, and they caught it because the machine was sloppy. That's the homework from the cold open, the textbook comments, and the severity score the artificial intelligence had simply invented. Those mistakes are the fingerprints. The defense won not because the weapon was weak, but because the machine that built it could not stop signing its work, like a forger who signs every fake. So sit with both halves together. We're safe today on two separate accidents: the dangerous design not yet running, the working attack not yet clean. Take away both, a self-rewriting weapon built by a machine careful enough to leave no fingerprints, and the guard has nothing left to check. And who do we trust to build that guard? Notice something strange? The artificial intelligence turned into a weapon is Gemini, made by Google. The report exposing the weapon was written by Google. The maker of the model is the author of the incident report about the abuse of its own model. The Fox is documenting the state of the Henhouse, and its answer is more artificial intelligence, its own experimental defensive agents with names like Big Sleep and Code Mender, unproven attacking machines against unproven defending machines, while the human written rulebook we trusted for 30 years quietly stops mattering. If you've watched this channel, you've seen the machine misbehave inside the box. A model reaching for its own off switch and breaking it, agents turning on each other through trusted channels, but those were machines on a leash. On a smaller board, this is the first time we've watched the machine pick up a tool and help build a weapon out in the field against real systems with real locks. The leash is off. The board is the world. So here's the only honest way to end it. Everything you've heard tonight, the half-built rewriter and the clumsy machine-made weapon both, is the worst this technology will ever be. The prototype, not the product. And the prototype already had to be disarmed by hand. The question's no longer whether an artificial intelligence can help write a weapon. We've shown you that it already has. The question is what happens on the first day the machine builds one without a single mistake, when there are no fingerprints left to find, and the only thing at the door is another machine we're not yet sure we can trust. This is just the beginning. We don't read the headlines, we read the threat intelligence report. Subscribe to Terminus. You need to see what comes next.